everyone, I'm Lauren and this is Light and Lavender, where we talk about all things books and my own writing journey. Today I'm doing my September wrap up and my October TBR. Yeah, I know it's a little bit late, but it's not too far into the month yet to be able to not put this out. I like to combine both the wrap up and the TBR into one video, because then instead of having two really short videos I just have one normal sized length video. I don't normally read a lot during the month, so it means that I can combine as many books as I want into it, and also my TBR might not be right, so it's not always going to be the same books every month. This month I managed to get through 4 books, well 3, but I finished the 4th one just at the start of October, so I'm counting that as a September read for me. It was mainly done, well, the majority of it was read in September. There was a little bit in August as well, if that gives you a hint as to what this book is. But the first book I want to talk about is The Witch Beast by Samantha Eklund. For this book I've given it a 2.5 to a 3-star read, mainly because I can't quite make up my mind if I enjoyed this story or not. I really liked the initial premise behind the book. This book focuses on 19-year-old Sylvana, who has grown up in a world of magical supernatural creatures and humans. At some point in her past, or in the past, these supernatural magical creatures announced their existence and humans have been living harmoniously since then. Sylvana sees herself as a pure human mortal. Through the course of the book we find out that things aren't quite as they appear. I really loved the initial premise of this book, however I felt the pacing was completely off. Everything seemed to happen just like that, everything just constantly flicking through. She starts off as a con artist who seduces men and uses glamours and all sorts of things to seduce men but then steal money from them. And this is how she gets herself into a spot of bother. I think my main problem in this was that there was a love interest in this story who appeared out of nowhere, and it was just instantly, oh yeah, Sylvana, he likes you, you're gonna get it on. There was no chemistry built up between them. It was implied straight away that this was going to be the love interest from the way that she first described him, and overall I didn't really like it. Also, the final climax of the book, I suppose, was a real letdown. It seemed to be too easy. There was no stakes, there was no feeling that anyone was actually in danger. It just seemed to be like, oh yeah, this has happened, and I honestly couldn't get behind it. So for me it was a 2.5 to a 3-star read. I think more on the 2.5 side, just because there was so much promise there, but it fell way short, so it wasn't a book that I'd go about. I was given The Witch Beast from NetGalley as an ARC to review. The book is already published, so if you do feel like it is something you might be interested in, then it is now available to go and buy. I believe it's the first in a set of 5, and 3 of the 5 are already out as well, so I do think this is why part of it felt rushed. I do think that this first book has been rushed out to make sure that the rest of the series can come out this year, and I'm not sure if I want to pick it up and finish this series off. The next book that I read in September, I almost said August, was Across the Bridge of Ice. This is the second in a series by Ruth Fox. I don't think that it was hindered much by this being the second in the series. I don't think that there was a lot of information missing that would have been found in the first book. The information from this book and the world building was interwoven beautifully. The characters were developed quite nicely. I do think that this is a young adult book, but more on the younger side, just from the way it was quite quick. There wasn't a lot of depth to it, but the depth that we did have was really good. So I gave this book a 4 out of 5-star rating, just because I did really enjoy the building of it. Kira, our main character in this book, was a little bit annoying to start off with. I didn't really like her in the first couple of chapters, but once the full plot had sort of initialised and started itself, I did think that her character fell more into herself. So I'm glad that I gave her time to develop and to become a character that I actually had any sort of investment into. I did think this was a good book. I am tempted to pick up the first one and to see if there are any others in this series. This book was also sent to me by NetGalley, but it is also available to buy, so if you are interested in reading this or in any of the others in this series, then they are available to purchase now. The next book that I read in September was Shielded by Kaylin Flanders. It was also my first physical book of the month, which was quite nice. This book focuses on a young girl called Jenna Sarah, or Jenna for short, and it follows her being sold off basically to a neighbouring country through marriage to enable her kingdom to have the strength it needs to fight these magicians and a war that's going on. Her family is noted by having magical abilities with a white lock in their hair, and only the heir of the throne is supposed to have this. However, Jenna is 2 years younger than her brother, and when she was born she too had this white lock in her hair. And the only other time this has happened in the past, the younger sibling did actually try to overthrow their older sibling to take over the crown, so she has had to hide her powers throughout the entirety of her life to make sure that people did not think that she was going to challenge her brother in any way. The synopsis for this book does make it seem quite simplistic. I do think there is a lot more story to this book than the synopsis implies. I really love this book. I couldn't put it down. I think I read it in the space of 2 days. Well, over a 2-day period. I gave it 5 stars out of 5. I'm really looking forward to the next one, as this is the first in, I think it's a trilogy, so at least the first in a set of books by Kayleen Flanders. So I'm really excited to read more and to discover more of this world and this universe. Jenna finds herself in a bit of a predicament, and it does go into a bit more depth of her character. I've seen some criticisms of people saying, oh, she's not like other girls, she does this, which I get sometimes is a valid criticism. However, Jenna keeps herself away from other people in the court life in the royal family because she doesn't want them to know that her hair has this white streak. So to me it's not really a valid criticism because she has a reason behind it. She's not being like, oh, I'm different, I like to play with swords, because she's trying to be like this different person. She's not trying to not be a girl, she's trying to hide the fact that potentially she could cause issues with her brother's inheritance of the kingdom, and she doesn't want that because she doesn't want the throne. She's happy to be the second child and not the heir. It kind of annoyed me reading those criticisms because I feel like they didn't give it enough chance to actually get into it, as someone did say that they actually DNF'd this book quite early on, which again I can understand why you would do that, but I just feel like if they gave it the chance then you could see that there was reasonings behind it. But no, I really enjoyed this book. I think it was really great, to be honest. It's a young adult fantasy set in a kingdom-like world. I did really enjoy the information between the different kingdoms, so not just Jenna's but also the neighbouring ones, which names I have forgotten currently because I am terrible. And I liked the power dynamics within that. I do think at times it was a little bit easy, maybe, for Jenna to be able to help out in certain situations, but as Josh Whedon says, there's a hell mouth to get out of it. So for Jenna, her magic can be used as like the get out tool, and because she doesn't understand how her magic really works, I think that has helped to cover some maybe slight plot areas. But I did really enjoy it. It was a really good quick read, and despite the fact that there's I think around 400 pages, maybe a bit more, there's about 400 pages in here, and like I said, I read this over, I think it was 2 sittings. It didn't take long to get through. I really enjoyed it and I would really recommend it. The last book that I read in September was 12 by Jasper Kent. So I did mention this in my August wrap up that I'd started and not finished it, but I have finally got round to it. The first third of the book was quite difficult to get into, but after that the plot did develop quite a lot. I don't want to get into this too much because the main part of this book is also a massive spoiler. So when my mum recommended this book to me, she accidentally gave away the spoiler because I don't think she'd read it for a while and probably forgot how much of an important sort of clinch point this is. So we follow a Russian captain called Alexei Ivanovich in Russia in 1812 during the time where Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte III was going through Russia and invading. And it focuses on Alexei and his 3 friends trying to do like espionage on the French troops and stopping France from invading Russia. However, they get the help from some friends that his friend Dimitri knows, and things start to fall apart. It's a really good historical horror fantasy. I would really recommend it. I think historical horror fantasy is the best way to describe it, but I would really recommend this book, but I don't want to go into it anymore because it just gives it away, and I think that's why I struggled to get into the first third of it, because I already knew what was happening and I already knew what this moment was going to be, whereas Alexei was still trying to find it out. So if you do get the chance to read it and you are into historical horror fantasies, then do pick this up. I think there's also a sequel to this book, but I'm not sure what that one is, so I might pick that up as well in the future. For my October TBR, I have got 5 books that I want to read, and the first one is Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. This is again a book that I have been sent by NetGalley. This deals with a story about 3 sisters in New Salem in 1893. They're the Eastwood sisters. Witchcraft has kind of become a dead thing and only talked about in nursery rhymes, but these sisters decide they're going to bring it back, and I just love the premise of witchcraft being brought back into the forefront, and I'm not really sure how it's going to play into the time period. I don't know much about America in 1893, so I'm looking forward to being able to read this and getting my thoughts out about it. This book is due to be published on the 15th of October, so if it sounds like something you might enjoy, then you'll be able to pick it up really soon. The next book I want to read is The Thousand Deaths of Arden Ben by Tyler Whitesides. This is again another NetGalley arc that I have been sent, although I think this one is already published. I think this has been published for a while and it's just a reprint or a republication of a book. However, this book deals with Arden Ben, who is a thief, but not just any old thief. He has got loads of different abilities that he's able to possess to make sure that he is the best of the best. I really liked the premise of this book because it seemed kind of Mistborn-esque. There's like a heist plot to it, kind of sort of thing. There's like gangs. I just really liked that sort of premise of it, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one as well. I don't really know much about it apart from that, but I am looking forward to it. The next book I want to read is Star Daughter by Shveta Takar. I still don't know if I was pronouncing that right. This is kind of like a Stardust with Indian backdrop and competitive edge to it. I really like the premise of this entire book and I'm so excited to get into it. I can't believe it's taken me 2 months to actually be able to pick this up and read it, but I'm so excited to actually get this one off my list. I loved Stardust and I just loved the premise of this book itself, so I'm so excited. The next book I want to read is this Copy Editing and Proofreading for Dummies. Yep, a non-fiction book for me. I've had this out of the library since March and it's due to go back this month. I have started it but I need to finish it. I am using this as a way to hone my own craft for my own writing. I want to be able to pick up some issues. I know it's going to teach me like actually how to use the proofreader marks and stuff, so it'll be useful as well if I ever do get a professional editor to go through my work. But I really want to get through this and try and understand this so that I can make my own editing a little bit easier. And the final book that I want to read this month is Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood, I think it is, by Sarah J Maas. I don't really know much about this. I have seen a lot of really good reviews on it. One from my friend Ness, who doesn't like Sarah J Maas but really likes this book, and that kind of is what tipped me over the edge to wanting to read this. So it deals with a murder mystery and a slight paranormal romance, and I am down for the paranormal romance side of things. I just love the idea of it. I think it sounds quite intriguing and I can't wait to pick it up, so I really hope that I can get around to it this month. If I do manage to read all them, I am going to try and go through my massive TBR pile and get down some of the books that I've had for years that I've never read, because all the books this month are quite new and I don't think that's going to help me try and reduce my pile down at all. So I'm going to try and do that. But yeah, that is my September wrap up and my October TBR. Let me know what books you read in September or what you're hoping to read this month. I know I've not really gone for as much of a spooky theme as many people have, but not everyone's got books based around that. Who knows? Maybe if I have time I'll be able to pick some up. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a like, and also if you want to see more videos from myself, don't forget to hit subscribe. There's a new video out every single week. Sometimes you get 2. I hope you're all well and you're all staying safe, and until next time, bye!